Okay, everyone, welcome. Looking for a roll call tonight, Kathy?
Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Here. Present.
All righty. So, start off with our liaison reports. Anybody have anything to report?
Yeah, I do. Yesterday I took a tour of the police station to see all the new renovations. What's really interesting is what I found out is they actually found the original preliminary plans that were submitted. They were changed and changed and changed. So some of the things that we're seeing now in the original plans. So Chief, you want to talk about that?
Sure. Just an update on the building, Mayor, council members. As you recall, we're adding a unisex restroom up front in the lobby. I don't know how we got away with that 20 years ago, not putting it in there, but we're converting the old roll call room into a community room / training room / emergency command center and a heating and cooling room. We're converting the crime prevention office into 2 interview rooms, which will be right next to the lockups, which will be very convenient for us. We won't have to walk them through our lobby. We're constructing a new report writing room in a portion of the men's locker room that was extra room. And we're also constructing a secure closet on the other side of our report writing room, and that's going to be in the women's locker room where there was plenty of room as well. The plumbing is finished except for the mounting the fixtures. The cabinetry will be delivered next week, installed shortly after that. The exterior doors will be in about 10 days, installed after that. The electrical work is almost complete. And the drywall, they're taping and mudding the walls right now. The 2 short sidewalks are already installed, cement is laid in place. And we're actually right on schedule. And Rich Birdie from Birdie Builders is here today. Rich is at our office every day, and I think the good thing about having a building manager is that these contractors do. If I was the building manager, this would be the only job they ever do for me, and they wouldn't be coming back when we needed them to come back. But they know they're going to work for Rich in the future, so they're there every day. So which we are right on schedule to be finished at the end of next month. And if anybody has any questions about this, Rich is right here to answer any questions about the building project.
All right. Anybody have any questions? All right, very good.
Mayor, I do want to add one thing. I know Alderman Petrakos was worried about the contingencies. And we did run into 6 contingencies that we didn't plan for, which is going to result in an extra $7,470. We have $20,000 in contingency, so we have plenty of money in the contingency. But I know Alderman Petrakos had asked about that, and I just wanted to put it on the record.
Okay.
One thing, Chief, can you go ahead and explain to the new members of the council exactly how the police department is actually paying for this?
All the funding will come from federal asset forfeiture funds. None of it's coming from general revenue. And I would like to just point out again that Alderman Petrakos is here that we had we had 6 contingencies in the building that totaled $7,470. So we have plenty of contingency money left. Sorry you came in right at the end there. Sorry.
Came in late.
Yes.
Right on. Anyone else?
I'd just like to speak again about the 4th annual Lockport Love Golf Outing. It is coming up Friday, August 11th with a 7:30 a.m. check-in. The cost is $100 per golfer, or you can do dinner only at a cost of $20. So that's one of our big fundraisers for Lockport Love. So if anybody's, what?
Where's it at?
Oh, where is it at? Oh, it is at the closest place you can possibly golf at. It is at the Broken Arrow Golf Course. So no excuses why you can't come out. Anyway, Renee is really good. If you want to have, what is it? Try and beat the golfer at the hole.
Are you a good golfer, Renee?
I'm okay.
Right on.
Pretty good golfer, right? What was that one that you ran that one time? With the golf outing for the veterans?
For the veterans.
You know, what was that called? Like, try and beat the girl or something?
Chick, and I
beat the
used to-
chick. So she's a really good golfer. A lot of guys
Golf
were,
club.
A lot of guys were missing it against her with the veterans golf outing. But, so yes, if you guys can come out, it is Friday, August 11th, and you could find out more information at lockportlove.com. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. And just FYI, I've been putting together the liaisons, and I want to reach out to council here probably by the next meeting with some thoughts on, I know especially with the new members and things about, you know, getting everybody plugged in. So just FYI, that's coming up.
Well, I'll just say real quick, I'm not sure if Brent's going to mention it also, but the downtown State Street project is out for bid. It's at the next IDOT letting, August 4th.
Yeah, very good. I know we had a hiccup with two of our projects had state money that came to a halt, but now that there's actually a budget, those two projects went back on track. It was the 2nd Street Bridge and McGregor North, so fortunately they're back on track. So, all right, anything else?
Mayor, if I could, the police commission just had a meeting at 6 o'clock, and they decided to hire a person to replace Detective Joe Piper, who retired on July 3rd, and he'll start in early August. Joe's replacement, he'll start the academy in early August. His name is J.R. Trular, and he is currently a CSO officer in Lamont.
Okay, very good. All right, thanks. Roy, why don't you come up now so you don't have to sit through this whole meeting? You wanted to give an update on something? All right, well, then we'll do it at new business. Thanks. All right, so if nobody else has anything else, we'll move on to our agenda. Pam, you up first?
Yes, thank you. ComEd, which is currently located in the Prime Business Campus, which is at the southeast corner of I-355 and 167th Street, is seeking approval of a final development plan in order to expand their current electrical substation. The property currently occupies 4.5 acres. It will be increased an additional 1.5 acres in size. The building currently is 1,200 square feet. The addition will add an additional 432 square feet. The proposed expansion is located on the north side of the existing substation. This was presented to the Plan Commission at a public hearing on June 13th. The applicants were present to respond to questions or comments. There were no objectors or concerned citizens providing any testimony. The Commission did question the legality of a letter of exemption, which was provided by ComEd, which is basically because they're regulated under the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, they have their own specific requirements for how the area should be secured. The letter was written by ComEd and not specifically the regulatory agency. However, staff did confirm with the city attorney that this is pretty typical, that the applicants would provide this information because they actually reference the sections of applicable codes. By a vote of 5-0, the Plan Commission did recommend approval of this final development plan request, and staff is seeking direction for the council to place this requested action on the August 2nd council meeting for final consideration. The applicants are present if there's any question, comments, or if they would like to provide any additional information.
Sure. Why don't you guys come on up and introduce yourself, and then ComEd, and then if the council has any questions.
I'm Martha Red. I am the ComEd project manager sign, and we have a really great team here. We have Marius, and he is doing the distribution portion of the project. We have Lisa, and she is the external affairs, and I believe she meets with you guys on a regular basis. We have Primera Engineering, who's also working on the distribution, Sargent and Lundy, who's working on the substation, and we have Christopher Burke, who is our environmental consultant, and then we have Chris Pytel from ComEd, who is the capacity planning, and he's the person that looks out into the future and the demands and tells us when we're going to need more capacity at the different stations.
Sure. Well, the whole team's here. Welcome.
We brought the whole contingency. We're very, very interested in this project and very grateful for your support.
Sure. Well, while they're here, does anybody have any questions about the project?
Do you envision, I mean, you've got a larger property here, and there's a lot of flood zone that's going through the property and everything like that.
Yeah, so our environmental firm, Christopher Burke, has looked at that, and we have done an environmental assessment. We're extending the northern portion of the property by about 70 feet. In order to do that and to maintain the water flows, we are increasing both the detention pond and we're providing compensatory storage, and that's in the details of the application that we submitted.
Do you envision you encompassing the entire site? I know.
No, we would, and we're just gonna go with that 70 feet. So we're trying to keep the land use available for other purposes should it be needed in the future.
I know if you guys can, I know we talked to Ben or the mayor and everything like that. I know we're talking about with Strand about additional well sites and stuff like that. So if that's something we can work with, that'd be great.
Yeah, I know that you guys are interested in two things, the well site and the potential for a bike path. ComEd at this time has no objections. However, we are requesting that we complete both mine and Marius's project because that way it doesn't get all dug up again.
Oh, yeah, right.
So our projects would be done at probably at the end of 2018, just to be sure. So any further use of the land could be discussed at that point.
And I'm assuming this is tied to a lot of the aerial work that you guys are doing on the
Yeah, so if some people have been driving up and down 355, the aerial work is for the line, the new line that's coming for the new transformer. And we've been working closely with the tollway and the property owners to obtain permission to fly the helicopter in those areas.
I think it's been interesting with everyone's out there watching, but in terms of road closures, I know they're just temporary and stuff while somebody's doing that.
Yeah.
How long do you think that your line project would take?
So we have two phases of it. We have this current phase, which is our summer phase of hanging the arms and the inductors, and this is scheduled to end in the end of August. And then in September, we have outages where we would string the line, and those, we have a set of outages in September, a set in October, and a set in late November, early December.
Okay, so by December, there shouldn't be any more road closures? Or
Yeah, by December, there shouldn't be any more traffic issues regarding our project. And we do try to get the helicopter out very early in the morning, but we are weather dependent, and it's raining, and so it's a little bit touch and go.
All right, well, very good. Any other questions, concerns?
My question was going to actually be just along with Jim. We've got a kind of a narrow area for a second deep well that we're looking at as a city, and your property kind of fits right over there. So Ben, it sounded like a couple months away from them working through their project, and I know it's a long ways before we would do anything there anyways, but maybe we set up some sort of follow-up meeting to talk about the needs.
Yeah,
and
you're
how we
welcome
would
to,
address them.
set up a meeting, get information, and contact me, and we will look at the entire plot of land and what your interests and where they lie.
Yeah, we've already had some internal meetings with them. Lisa Pradia joined us, one of their area VPs also joined us, and they didn't close the door all the way. They want to be able to finish their projects.
Sure.
If we go forward with some other well sites in well 15, we're probably a few years away from that next well site anyway, but this is in a very key area where we have been giving pre-authorization basically from the IEPA to drill a well there. And those are very hard to come by. So yeah, we want to continue to work with them, and they've been open to meeting with us. And I know we talked to Strand about creating a drawing just to show exactly what our infringement would be on their property, and it would be very close to the road and very minimal impact. And I think when they see that, they'll realize there's plenty of room for everybody to coexist there eventually, hopefully.
And just for way of background, especially for the newer people, we have very, very limited space to actually drill any more, especially deep wells, right? Which I think we kind of want. One, which we're going to see now, and this is probably the only other space in a high zone. When I met with Strand, that was kind of my takeaway, where we have a chance at doing this, right? So that's why this area, either right here or that development just north that was in front of planning and zoning a week or so ago, is so important. Is it's probably our only other place in the entire city in the high zone to get a deep well. So, we may or may not need to get there, and it's expensive, and
Well, look, without getting too
in a
deep in
way,
the
but
weeds.
it's important to consider now.
No, I think it is. And so ComEd's clearly open to the idea of it, so.
Deep anywhere, right?
Yeah, I think
Well,
this
you
job is
want to
great,
clarify that if you want.
All right. Well, without like getting into the whole well discussion right now, which is important, but not necessarily appropriate for this topic, ComEd's willing to talk and appreciate that. So if there's no other questions specific to the project, are we good with the consent agenda? Okay, thank you so much for your time. All right, what else you got there, Pam?
Yes, the next item is John Antonitis, on behalf of Lupine Montessori School, is seeking a special use permit to establish a private school which will be located at 936 North State Street in the North State Street Center. They plan to lease a 2,500 square foot tenant space towards the north end of the building. Right now, both tenant spaces on either side are currently vacant. They're looking to open this fall, and they anticipate approximately 15 to 20 children. There will be 2 employees. Days and hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 3 p.m. And if for after-school care, that would extend the hours of operation to 6 p.m. They did ask to have a drop-off pickup area in front of the building. However, the drive aisle in front of the building is considered a fire lane per the fire district, and therefore that cannot be conducted. A public hearing was held at the Plan and Zoning Commission on July 11th. The applicant was present to respond to questions or comments. There were no objectors or concerned citizens to express any against anything with this. The special use standards is defined in our zoning ordinance, were evaluated, and evidence was established to support the special use. Then by a vote of 6-0, the Plan Commission did recommend approval of the special use permit, subject to the condition that there would be no drop-off or pickup in front of the building because of it being a fire lane. Staff is seeking direction to place this item on the August 2nd council agenda for final consideration.
All right, thoughts, questions, concerns?
My only question is, will there be signs there that says no drop-off or pickup in that area that's a fire lane?
That was not discussed, but that is certainly something that we can work with them with.
If they don't see it,
Right.
you know, they're going to be
Right.
parking there, you know, to
Yeah.
wait for the kids to.
The other thing too, we could possibly do is work with the fire district and the property owner to have the fire lane actually marked as no parking fire lane.
Sounds good.
Because it's the whole front of the building, so it might be a good idea to just address it all at one time.
Exactly, yeah.
The positive is there's pretty good parking right there.
Yes,
Yeah, so there's plenty of parking right there.
yes.
Just always convenient for.
And the other question I had was, play area, anything? Did they discuss that at all?
No, because it's essentially, it's a school, it's not a daycare. So they will have a formal program of different topics. In the staff report, for the Plan Commission, it was discussed that they would offer education on practical life, sensorial language, and mathematics.
So there will be no recess time?
Yeah, it's not our, yeah, they can do whatever they want. I just don't want to, you know, this is going to become an issue later with parking, drive-through, play area. So as long as they've thought of that, that's fine. Okay.
All right, any other thoughts? Look forward to having some use over there. It'd be nice. So does anybody have a problem with the consent agenda on this item? All right, then we'll do consent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Mr. Benjamin Benson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. We just have a quick backfill position. We had an employee leave that we want to backfill this position in the accounting department. We closely monitor all of our personnel, positions each year. This position would be someone that helps out the finance department in the payroll, bank data analysis, perhaps maybe some purchasing roles. In the process of doing some new software for finance, and so we want to bring this person in as soon as we get that done to get them trained on the new software as well. So again, this is not a new position, it's a backfill, and we'd like to proceed with hiring with a new accountant.
All right, questions, concerns? Okay. Is this something
No
you need?
action needed, no consent, just usually for your information unless anyone has a problem, so.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, what else you got?
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is a Park School and land cash contributions, the fair market value of land. I want to thank Pam, Sonny, and Darren that we've spent a lot of time meeting and talking in regards to this. In the city's development code, land or cash contributions are required for public parks and schools and any residential development, not commercial or industrial, but residential. Those cash contributions are determined by an appraisal with the fair market value in those respective districts. And we've included both what the existing ones are, which have not been changed since 2007, and what the new proposed rates would be. These are in your packet. The high school follows basically, and the Park District both follow basically the respective grade school district amounts, and there's a table in there. There's about 5 pages for each of the school district. You can flip through those. Again, these current values were established, pre-recession, and so they really need to be updated for 2017 in fairness for the developers coming in. The city has had incentives available and discount fees that are going to be starting to sunset. They've been reduced in July. They'll be reduced again next year. But for now, we want to, at a minimum, update these fair market values to current rates. The school district has worked with us. There's a resolution in there that they've certified these new numbers. 33C will be 80,000, 92 will be 75,000, District 91, 80,000, District 90, 60,000, and District 89, 38.5. Staff concurs with these updated fair market values and recommend that they become effective immediately upon the council approval at the next meeting. And we'll let the Park District and the schools know that that's completed. And they'll stay in effect until either we need to revise the market and the appraisals, or the city or the schools petition each other in regards to taking them up or taking them down at some point in the future.
And just for clarification, this is conversations you've had with the school districts in question,
Yes.
and they agree with these numbers?
You bet. Yes, they are in agreement and agree that it's time to update them. They've spent some of their own money doing these appraisals and provided them to them. I didn't put those in your packet. They're like 40-page appraisals. If you want them, I'm happy to email them to you separately. But, again, we're concurring with the assessment, and we'd like to seek approval.
Well, I must say, I'm very happy with this. I first started working on this about 4 years ago, right about this time. It all came from a conversation I had with our former interim city planner, or city community development director, Frank Kaler, when we were discussing cash for land up at the Highlands of Lockport 4 years ago. It still hasn't come to fruition, and this was about a contention with the developer, and because of a $155,000 valuation for an approved acre of land. And I remember Frank, he pulled the pamphlet out above his head off a shelf, put it back. I said, pull it down. Let me go ahead and see the date, and it was 2007. 6 years later, in 2013, it was obvious that this was way over, this was outdated. So it took a long time to get to this. And this is a far more realistic numbers. There is one thing in here, one item in here that we don't have to discuss tonight, but I would like to discuss in August, maybe the second meeting in August. It's the impact fees / school facility fees. These fees were created by ordinance in 2008 in anticipation for the impact that people have to understand is back from about 97 to about 2006, we had exponential residential growth in the city of Lockport. For those of you who moved here during that time period, this was a result. This ordinance was anticipating future buildings, potential high schools, potential grade schools, and the numbers back in for a 4-bedroom house back in January 2004 for the first 6 months was approximately $2,400. That very same house is now $5,565 in school facility fees. That is way out of line. And if you looked at your chart in the very first footnote, it talked about the 3% increase to the annual increase to the 4% annual increase, which is the reason my objection a month ago when Bryce was here and I said we're not going to do this 3%. It was because of this ordinance here. Okay, so we need to go ahead and look at this to bring these numbers far more realistic. We are not building 500 or 600 houses a year like we were back from about 97 to about 2004 or 5. So I just look at what I want to do is really nothing more than refinancing a mortgage. It's all it is just to go down and get into a lower rate, far more realistic, which is far more market, what the market should be, and also be in line with what other communities have done. Other communities have dramatically slashed, and some have even eliminated the school facility fee. So I'd like to have that discussion, maybe the second meeting in August.
All right, man, we'll talk about that. As far as what's on the agenda tonight, does anybody have any questions about what's before us? I do appreciate your hard work on it, Darren. I know you spent a lot of time trying to build consensus with those other governing bodies, so thank you. As far as what we have here tonight at CA2, is this something we agree on for a consent? Or something you want to talk about as an action item? Good with consent?
I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay, then.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.
Ready?
Madam Hegland.
Okay. The Illinois Local Government Wage Transparency Act, which was adopted in 2016 by the state, requires a public body to disclose and discuss at an open public meeting payments made to retiring employees who are not subject to a collective bargaining agreement. If the payments that they are going to receive will have more than a 6% increase to the employee's reportable earnings for the IRMRF pension. So we have one employee that has recently retired, Kathy Elgis, and she qualifies for this disclosable payment. So this is the first one we've had since this went into place. So what she was paid out at the end of retirement was accrued sick and vacation, which amounted to $8,953. So that was vacation time that she had earned on the books that needed to be paid out. What we have to disclose publicly is what this payment to her did to increase her monthly pension. So the amount of that is $35.49, and over the estimated life of her pension, it'll come out to $6,295. So that's what the state is asking us to disclose publicly, and it will happen for any non-union employee that retires here forward. Okay, so it's for public disclosure.
Any employee without a contract.
A
Union contract, yes.
Non-union employee. So staff is recommending the certification of the disclosable payment to be approved by the City Council in compliance with this Wage Transparency Act. So I'm looking at the next council meeting for the approval.
Okay, thoughts, questions, concerns? It's just one of those things, sounds like.
Statutory.
This is for information, right? There's no act.
Well, you do need, you
have to
will
approve it,
need to
right?
vote on this, yes.
You could consent it if you want. Just no deliberation required.
It's standard stuff, right? It's just another state of Illinois disclosure kind of thing, but she got paid out her sick time and vacation time when she left, right?
It's in compliance with our
That's common
current
everywhere.
personnel policy, so it's nothing special for this person. It's just,
I guess my question is, if these numbers were 30 times that, right, something outrageous, could we actually say no?
Yeah, it's like, what are we certifying?
Absolutely not. I mean, we have to say yes, but
So the vacation and the sick payouts really aren't what we're,
right.
we're disputing. We know by law that she's required by our personnel policy, she's
Sure. It's all
required.
by the
But
books.
really what this is pertaining to is people who were getting huge pay increases at the end of their career. That's really what it was written for, is for those people who
You had those
people
bumps.
gave
Viking.
huge bumps in salary. That's really what it stems from, but it also included this because that is something that was increasing her salary at the end.
Sure.
So,
I think really what the point of it is, Jim, is that, for those kind of shenanigans that have happened in the past, and fortunately not our city, but other cities, is that it's like, understand, everyone, that this is going to have full public disclosure. So if you guys think you're going to pull fast ones like that, you're going to have to talk about it publicly. So that's why we do these things now, so. All right.
so,
Well, it sounds like something for a consent agenda then.
good.
thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, Mayor and members of council, is there's a gas pump replacement and a resolution on there. I'm actually going to request to pull this item. We are moving forward with the purchase of this pump. We don't need it to get council approval to move forward with a $9,000 contract. There was some confusion as there was a contract associated with it with a bidder that didn't understand the scope that they bid on, so you can tell by the bids, there was a couple for $9,000 and there's one at $49,000. That one was clearly confused by the response. That was included in your packet, so that's a little confusing, but unless you have any other questions, we don't need to vote or to move it forward. This meets the policy guidelines that we have for purchasing. Lisa and I have worked with the police department. They're just replacing their pump and the key fob and how we keep track of people who use the pump. And it's all above ground, so it doesn't engage any construction really or anything. It's just a vendor replacing equipment, right, Terry?
And the general cost is most likely going to be around the $9,000?
Yes, yeah, it'll be that low bid, the $9,400.
So everyone knows, the concerns I had was somebody, that third person just didn't bid it right. Something was awry and everything. So Ben and I were talking about, even with that new accounting position, that purchasing aspect of that new accounting position would be great to kind of say, all the departments, here's the standard RFPs, whatever they're working with, some standard contracts and everything, get all of these together so everyone, there are no hiccups on any of these bids, so everyone knows what they're bidding moving forward, so.
This just shows the value of getting multiple bids, right? Because
Yeah,
Metro Tank and Pump might be a great company, gave a real bid on what they thought they were bidding on, and they misunderstood. Had we not gotten more, we might, if we don't know better, we might accept a high bid.
Sure.
All right, sounds good.
So no action required, we'll just make that disappear, but we will be buying that lowest pump.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Pam, here to talk about facade grants?
Yes. Janine Wheeler, who's the new owner of the building located at the corner of Hamilton Street and 9th Street, which is 131 through 133 East 9th and 901 South Hamilton Street, is making a request for funds through the city's facade and site improvement grant program. The work would be for some masonry work, including tuck pointing and repainting the building, which would include the bricks and mortar with a similar color that it's painted today. And for installation of 8, possibly 9 awnings. Due to the design of the door and windows on the south elevation, there may be 2 awnings, there may be 1 awning. Because this property is located in both the city's historic district boundary as well as the National Register, it was required to go before the H&A, or Heritage and Architecture Commission, which it did on June 15th. A certificate of appropriateness was granted by the commission for the work. The commission did recommend that the applicant seek a tuck pointing company that specializes in historic buildings, and I believe the one that the applicant has chosen was that company, correct? Oh, but do they specialize in? Okay. The applicant did submit 3 contractors' estimates as required by the application. Regardless of the combination of contractors chosen or the amounts of each of them, the total cost was still the 50% reimbursement that she'd be eligible for, which is then a maximum of $10,000, would still be exceeded. So she's eligible for the $10,000 regardless. This is the first request under our fiscal year 2017, so there's more than sufficient funding to cover this. The building is eligible and the work is within the scope of the program. Money will not be reimbursed until the work is completed and proof of payment is provided. Staff is recommending approval of the facade grant request in the amount of $10,000, and we ask that the council place this to put on the August 2nd agenda for final action.
All right, questions, thoughts, concerns?
And Janine is here.
One question I have, Pam, an off-the-wall question, it has nothing to do with this, but it says painting. I didn't know that building was painted.
It is.
It is painted.
Yep, if you look at the pictures, the commission didn't realize it was either. They probably doesn't show real well in the copies.
Yeah.
But and when you look at the photos that were submitted, you can actually see where some of the paint is coming off of the building.
And they're actually going to have to put in fire sprinklers in the building?
They have to put a fire alarm, which is the next request.
Okay, a fire alarm, okay, got it, okay.
Well, that's what the grant is for. So
Absolutely.
looking forward to, it'll look really nice down there with the awnings and We appreciate the hard work you're putting into it.
Pam, can you just announce so everybody knows how much is left for the facade grant and the sprinklers, since nobody has applied for it? I just want to make sure the public knows we have that available.
Well, the budget allocated $40,000 for the facade and site improvement grants. So being that this is the first one, then they'll be, 30,000 will be remaining. They're getting the full amount. There could be multiple number of applicants that could come in and also seek the full amount if the program and their eligibility allowed for it, or we could even do more if someone came in with less. But each building owner would be entitled to up to $10,000 match, and they could do a little bit now and then come back later, but that would be the maximum.
So we could find 3 more businesses, or 3 more businesses could approach us. So
Yes.
just to let the public know that
Yep.
3 more buildings can get the same little facelift.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just for my own edification, Pam, is there a timeline where they have to complete it by the end of this year, or so our fiscal periods don't get mixed, or how does that work?
Yeah, typically, the reimbursement should happen before the end of the year, or end of the fiscal year, which I believe all of that will be taken care of before the end of the fiscal year, so that should not be a problem. Obviously, as we get closer to the end of the year, we kind of have to, take a look at what the scope of the work is and what the realistic expectation is that it be done by the end of the year. We do have some carryover opportunity through February, right, out of the fiscal year budget previous. So, but they're good. They will have the work done before the end of the year.
So what happens to the remainder of the facade amount? If there's $30,000 left, it does roll over?
Well, it doesn't roll over to make 70,000 for the next year. It's just,
We keep the money.
yeah.
Okay.
The government's use.
All right, very good. Like I said, exciting stuff. So are we good with a consent on this? I think we're all in agreement this, so. Okay. What else you got?
Yep, and then the same property owner is also looking to take advantage of the city's, it's actually code compliance grant, but specifically it's under the fire sprinkler and fire alarm system. They are looking to install a fire alarm. It's required for their existing tenant and their new tenant that's looking to move in. Again, they've submitted the appropriate number of contractors' estimates, and similar because of the scope of the work, no matter what combination, they're still eligible for the maximum, which is $5,000. And again, because this is the first request for fiscal year 2017, there is sufficient funding available. And what is this one, 40 also, or 60? This one is 60,000 line item. So with $5,000, we have $55,000 left for people to take advantage of. The city will reimburse the applicant after the work is completed and proof of payment has been provided. The fire district has approved the fire alarm plans. The building code compliance inspection has been completed by both the fire district and the city's building official. Any of the minor items that were noted will be taken care of prior to occupancy, and I believe they may have already been taken care of because the applicant was very responsive when the items were identified. We are recommending approval of this assistance in the amount of $5,000, and we asked to place this on the August 2nd agenda for final action.
All right, any questions or concerns about this one? All right, same thing, good news. So we'll put it on the consent agenda. And, I know we had sent out a letter to the property owners in the downtown recently about kind of just giving them parameters on H&A and stuff like that, and how it's actually there to help, as opposed to be a hindrance. And oftentimes it is. Sometimes it saves a lot of money for people. I don't recall in that letter if we put down a reminder of the facade and sprinkler grants to those owners. Did we put that in there?
No, I don't believe that was in there.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, we have that mailing list now, and so it'd be a good thing to remind everybody. Like as Catherine says, there's still 30,000, and it's a nice reminder, but not many people watch this. So it'd be better off if we sent a direct letter to all those property owners down there.
Absolutely, and I know even with some of the changeover in property owners recently, if they do call in and ask questions, and we do remind them that we do have the facade grant and we do have the code compliance grant available for them. And many are very interested and excited about it. Sometimes it's a timing issue. Sometimes it's just a matter of having to spend that much money in order to get that much reimbursement. The other thing that I'm working on right now is we have an available properties listing for downtown. And I'm looking to kind of up that a little bit and do a nice aerial map similar to what we did for the 9th Street, 159th Street corridor. And on the back side where all the available properties would be listed, I'm including a little paragraph in there that stipulates that the properties are perhaps within the historic district, and they should contact the city before any work. But I think what I'll also add on there is the information about the facade grant and the fire sprinkler grant, so that anyone who would look on that map and be interested in a property would also know upfront that that kind of funding's available.
The only thing, should we disclose to them, or maybe you just tell them verbally that they have to own it for 3 years?
Oh,
Otherwise they have
yes.
to pay it back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in the
I'm just saying
applications,
that
yeah.
so they don't think.
Yep, do that.
I'd just like to add one thing about the funding sources. This code compliance grant is something we passed probably 2 years ago. We actually got an award for that last October. That money actually comes from the video gaming revenue. It's not taxpayer money, okay? So that is allocated out of video gaming revenue, and I believe that the other is general funds, yeah, so.
That's good.
All righty. Mr. Can, so you want a Ford Explorer, huh?
Good evening, council. Good evening, mayor. Thanks for your time this evening. First item up on the agenda is the purchase of a 2017 Ford Explorer. Within our 2017 budget, we had $30,000 budgeted for this item through the South Suburban Joint Purchasing Program. The quoted price is $28,415, and the department would be seeking approval to be on the council meeting in August 2nd, for approval of this item.
All right, thoughts, questions, council?
Is it gonna be red or white?
What was that?
Is it gonna be red or white?
It's actually going to be gray.
Gray.
Changing it up. It was one they had on the lot, so you can see the discount in there, so it was a larger discount.
All right. Sounds good as consent if nobody seems to have any problems. What else you got?
The next item I have on the agenda this evening is for the well 15 design. This is something I know that we started to speak a little bit about earlier in the evening. And this, we can have a very long discussion. I think it's CIP time, so I don't want to get into a lot of detail this evening. My understanding is also that this has been presented in various formats throughout the last year or so. So please feel free to ask any questions this evening, but again, we'll get into a little bit more detail during CIP. Well 15, this is the same location as the I-355 water tower with the Fox antenna on it. So to give everybody just an idea of where this property is located, it is currently well 10, so we do currently have a well there. The current well is a shallow well. Well 15 that we are proposing this evening, this would be for a deep well. And so to discuss a little bit about the differences between the shallow and the deep, I did print off some documents. This is a little bit of light reading. Again, don't want to get into it fully this evening, but one of the main issues that we have in the city is we have that isolated area, as Darren pointed out. We have that isolated area for shallow wells. We also have an isolated area for deep wells, two different reasons. The shallow wells is because of the Heinz Emerald Dragonfly. So we have a specific area, and again, I've printed this out so we can, and again, my apologies this evening. I was unsure of what had been presented, and I didn't want to represent everything, so I do have some additional handouts that I can, actually I'll pass them out now, but, so I apologize for not having those in the, thank you, in the packet. Getting back to the shallow wells, so the shallow well is the Heinz Emerald Dragonfly. A couple of the locations that are very prime are Prime Boulevard. The west side, which is what we discussed earlier tonight, the ComEd site, We also have a location directly across the street that if that development or a future development were to move forward, 2 acres on that site would be, again, an ideal location for an additional future shallow well. This evening, we are talking about a deep well, and again, the deep well, the issue with that is in the region, specifically Joliet, there is a cone of drawdown that has been impacted by overuse, essentially the easiest way to say it. The combination of all the municipalities in the area, Joliet, which is obviously a large user in itself, and then the industry in the area, combination of those three have essentially, they're sucking that water down annually. So in order to reach that, they're digging deeper, drilling deeper, and it's increasing costs, and they're just chasing that water down. At some point, it's not going to be feasible, and it's, you know, they're going to have to come up with another solution. I'm sure some of you have heard that there's the discussion of going down to the Kankakee River and bringing water up through that commission. That is one option that Joliet is looking at. But at some point, there is going to be something that Joliet will have to do in order to fix their water issue. So what we can't do is we can't tie onto that same aquifer too close to Joliet. We're going to be in the same boat, essentially. So if we're on the south and the western half of the city, actually southwestern 3/4 of the city, it's basically a no-go. And again, when you look at the document, there is some information in there in the colored exhibit. So essentially what we have is we have some very isolated pockets that we have for a deep well. We also have some very isolated pockets that we have for a shallow well. This well 15 is a perfect ideal location for the deep well because it is, again, it's the northern part of the city, the eastern part of the city, far enough away from that Joliet impacted area that by the time this area were to be impacted, Joliet would have long had to have made other arrangements, or they would have been, you know, they would have been severely impacted by lack of water. So I don't want to say that this well 15 is completely out of the impact zone, because again, if Joliet were to draw on it and draw on it and draw on it, and this were to continue to grow, there is a chance that it could be impacted, but we are far enough away that the likelihood of that is very small. The other benefit of a deep well, and again, the documents that I've handed out, if you want to look at the 8.5 by 11 packet, where you can see it's got the colored exhibit at the top, figure 5. If you look at A, shallow wells, that will give a little bit of information on the definition of a shallow well, what we're actually doing with a shallow well. But if you turn to the 4th page and look at item B, the deep sandstone well is what we're talking about. And the benefits of that, if you flip to the next page, which is, it's actually page 14, it's page 5 of what I've given you, but the number at the bottom, page 14, if you look at the second to last and the last paragraph, the benefits of a deep well versus a shallow well are there. What the deep well, I should say, will be able to do for us is impact in a very positive way some of the water quality concerns that have been brought up around the city. I've been here only 3.5 months or so, and I've heard a number of I don't want to say complaints, but a number of concerns about the water quality. And a lot of that water quality is, it's natural. There's nothing that we're doing any differently than Joliet, Romeoville, any of the other surrounding communities, Crest Hill. We're doing nothing differently to our water than what they are. They're getting the exact same makeup. What this deep well, though, this deep well has a completely different makeup than the shallow well. So essentially what we'd be doing is taking that deep well, mixing it, blending it with the shallow well, we would be improving the water quality across the city. Now, is everybody going to be able to look at today's versus 3 years from now's water and say, I can tell the difference? I don't want to make that statement, but I do believe that there will be a noticeable difference. And if you read this paragraph, some of the things that village of Romeoville, which is in the exact same boat as us. Water, very similar makeup, shallow well, deep wells. They're doing the blending, and they've actually won some awards, and I'll have Chris come up and speak to that with Strand here shortly. But they've actually won some awards for taste in, with their water. Exact same, I don't want to say exact, I shouldn't say that. Very, very similar water makeup. Same region, same aquifers. So we're looking to draw from some of that experience and do the exact same thing. So this evening, well 15, what we would be requesting would be the design for a project plan which would encompass not only this well 15, the deep well, but also a future shallow well option on either the ComEd property at Prime Boulevard or the future development on the north side of Division Street, right across from Prime Boulevard. So it would encompass both of those locations. This project plan would allow us to get into the queue for EPA. It would also allow us the ability to go for future grants, future IEPA loans, the low-interest loans. So this would be that first step. So by doing them at the same time, working with Strand, there is some savings. If we split them up and we did them over, one now and 1 in 3 years, we would be paying a premium for that. So there's a lot of benefits to doing that, like I said, in addition to getting into the queue with the EPA. The second piece of that is the actual well 15 design for the digging of the well. So first piece of it, dig the well. So we're gonna go out there, we're gonna drill the well, we're gonna get down to the water. Then what has to be done is the water has to be evaluated, tested, and then the water treatment plant is designed. So what I've asked for Strand is I've asked for a total package to come to council. The way that I guess I would recommend or continue to bring these in the future, so council understands the entire process. I don't want to come 1 month and then 3 months later say, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you that we've got the second piece of that project and the third piece. This takes us from day one, which is the project plan, all the way through until that well is up and running. And so that's what this contract, this takes us through the 3 steps: the project plan, the actual design and drilling of the well, and then the treatment plant for that well. So again, in the past, or maybe on other projects, this would have been split up, but I want council to understand the overall impacts and the overall costs by doing A. You're essentially, without doing B and C, we would not be doing the entire project. So I want council to understand the 3 components. Done a lot of talking. Any questions? I know I've brought a lot of things up.
I have some questions for Chris.
Yep. Chris, would you mind coming on down?
Within the scope of Chris Alm from Strand.
Everybody.
So within the scope of this, we're going to have we're going to eventually get total cost and all that other good stuff is going to be in your analysis.
Having a tough time hearing you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's correct.
Okay, so you're going to have the total cost of what a well is going to, for the well, from what we're talking about tonight, all the way through the end, is going to be in your report, correct?
In the project planning document that we're sending to IEPA, which is the first step in getting loan approval. It doesn't commit you to anything, but it's the step that you have to take to get on the list to get loan money. That will need to have the full cost of the project. And we're including some other projects in there because it's easier to just go through the financial data and all the background data and all that stuff one time and get all the projects that you think you might use IEPA loan money for. Do that one time. All those projects have to be fully cost analyzed, and you have to prove that you have the ability to pay back those loans for all of those project costs.
Okay, now, Brent mentioned 2 locations for potential shallow wells, essentially in the St. Gelon area, and last week you and I had a conversation about potential back over at where wells 5 and 8, where it's over by the police station. Is that still a feasible option or a viable option, or to even consider, or do we look at that a few years down the road?
Yes, to answer to your first question is, yes, I think that's a viable location. I think that we have to go through steps to convince U.S. Fish and Wildlife that it's a viable location, and it will not create new impacts to the Heinz Emerald dragonfly habitat. And we can talk about switching out. See, with every site, when I do this project planning document, I have to go through kind of a cursory well siting analysis. I have to look for other endangered habitat and environmentally sensitive things for a specific site. I can't do a project planning document for some well somewhere in town. It has to be tied to an area where I can prove that it's not going to impact environmental, it has to go through a public hearing on that site. So we can switch out, we can talk about switching out Kohler Farm site with that other site and work on the ComEd pieces. Or we can talk about adding that site to this project planning.
I would much rather would you look at the two sites along Division Street there, and then add this as a potential.
Okay.
As a potential site. Those wells, for people who don't know, those wells were capped due to an absolutely horrible decision by 5 members of the council back in 2012. And so the problem was, as Chris and I discussed last week, was it was probably an issue with the casing that could have been fixed.
Correct. Or an alternative treatment process that's been implemented since that decision was made, you know, is now available that could have addressed that situation.
Okay.
So, in answer to your question, I think that I can create a project planning document such that it's one new shallow well at either this site, or this site. We'll determine later, but not have costs in there for 3 new shallow wells.
I'm good with that.
Chris, I have a question. I noticed on this one sheet where it talks about the well over by the current water tower up by 355. It's the deep well, and it mentions iron filtration. I was always under the understanding that it's the shallow wells that need the iron filtration and that the deep wells need a radon screening. Is that something that's going to be necessary here, and or is the iron filtration necessary on a deep well here?
Nobody likes to hear that one never knows what they're going to find until they actually drill the well. We have found with the deep sandstone aquifer in this area that if you case off all the way down to that particular aquifer, that iron levels are low enough such that you do not need iron removal treatment for that. But there is radium present in that aquifer. Basically, you've got 3 layers of aquifers in this area. You've got the one that you're taking all your wells from, which is the shallow bedrock. You go a little bit deeper, you hit something called the St. Pete. That one's loaded with radium, loaded with hydrogen sulfide, loaded with iron, and we case through that. We don't want that. They used to take that, but now we case through that, and we go all the way down to the Ironton Galesville, which is about 1,800 feet deep. And typically, that's got radium, it's got hardness, and it's low in iron. So we're able to just treat that with a 1-step ion exchange softening process, which is identical to the ion exchange softeners that you get at Menards or
And screening for the radium, that's a possible thing? It's doable? How does that work?
Radium treatment is radium is removed with the exact same process that removes hardness from your water with ion exchange. Is that it?
All right. No, because I just didn't see that screening on here. I just saw the deep well with iron filtration, so that's why I was asking.
You're right, Mayor, and I'll bring this over to you. So you can-
Should be a
I
deep
love having
well
errors
with
in my reports
ion
pointed out in
exchange.
this particular.
Well, we don't have iron, we don't have iron removal on well 10 now, do we? I don't think we do.
Thank you. So well 10 does not currently have iron removal. Well 10 does have iron levels that are currently acceptable, but they are starting to climb like they have. This is why we just recently put on iron filtration on shallow well 9, which became shallow well 14. So go backwards 3 years or so, we did project planning for putting on iron removal on 3 wells, if you remember. And IEPA has approved that project planning to put iron removal on well 9/14, which is underway, also on well 10, also on well 11. That project planning approval is good for 5 years. So this facility that we will design will have iron removal, can have iron removal for well 10 and ion exchange for the new deep well 15 that's going on that site. So that's what the well 10 iron removal and deep well ion exchange plant. We just didn't have the deep well number at that point in time. Okay, now I know it to be 15.
Okay, I got it. And just if I can break this down as simple as possible, and correct me if I'm wrong, our wells have been shallow for decades now, and that just, the problem with it is it's often sediments and the iron and those kind of things that just, when people wonder why the water looks like it does, it's oftentimes because we have shallow wells and you have to screen for that. We've been finally screening for iron in the last number of years, putting those filters on there, which is good. The deep well will have cleaner water, if I'm right, but you have to screen for different things. In this case, we need ion exchange. But we should have cleaner water, and you won't bring as much sediment into the system.
That is correct. As Brent pointed out, it is what Romeoville uses for their water supply. They have a deep well and a shallow well on 5 of their 7 sites. They blend those 2 waters together, and it did win awards at local, with local and regional water groups.
Okay.
I've got a basic question to start. This refers to Kohler Farm a couple of times. Where's Kohler Farm? What property is that?
It's that Ridge Development property.
Ridge Development.
Okay.
But
And the other thing that I think is a little, at least was tough for me, is we're looking at well 15 in place of well 10, but not site 15.
Adjacent,
not in place.
it would be next to it. It's not going to replace it.
Right,
So
right,
well
right.
10 will stay in as shallow.
Right.
Well 15, this is part of the easement with the Tom Small Prologis project, and then both will fill that storage tank on 355. So we'll blend those waters.
So we met a couple months ago to talk about the water, and I got more out of that meeting in an hour, more understanding to, whatever my level of understanding is, than I have in my previous couple of years here. And I walked away from that convinced that well 15, as planned here, was kind of the right thing to do, and that our ideal future state, although I'm sure it doesn't get to your 2050 demand, but would be well 15, a deep well on either site 15 or 16, and then, as Darren said, kind of recracking maybe one of those shallow wells of 5 or 8. But now what I think I'm reading here is a shallow well on site 15 or 16. Why have we decided to go shallow there instead of deep? I mean, obviously cost is a major contributing factor, but is there like an engineering reason?
And that's, I heard you talking about a deep well, and that was never actually the case, and I apologize if you got that misunderstanding out of that. But this area just east of I-55 along Division Street, I-355 along Division Street, is the last places you can put a shallow bedrock well. The shallow bedrock wells are the ones that are affecting the dragonfly. So that area is too close to Joliet for a deep well for comfort right now. So I might have left you with a misunderstanding out of the last
sure
meeting.
I
apologize about that.
Okay, because we talked about the lying down Gauger as a possibility, right, and getting the deep water down that way, right, and that may or may not happen at some point. We had probably a more concrete plan for it, and that seems to have gone away. My impression was that was going to come through site 15 or 16. So if that's actually site 15 or 16 will be shallow, then well 15 will be the only planned deep well we have in the city. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
In the next 3 years, at
I
least,
should
yeah.
label these sites with symbols or something like that, because you start calling something a number and then you come in with a well.
Well, I know that's what I said, like
There's
well 15
wells
versus
and
site
sites.
15, and yeah.
Okay.
And one of the things that I think you brought up a perfect kind of segue into this, Chris and I have been talking, along with Scott Green, and we've been trying to work through some of these ideas, shallow versus deep. This is, I don't want to say it's going to be a test site because we're very comfortable with moving forward with it and we think there's going to be a nice benefit. We may, depending upon how well this goes, we may come forward to council and say our next well, rather than going down with another shallow well, we may say we want to go with another deep well because we have seen some positive impacts, and we may go with another deep well,
Yeah.
and rather than the next one being a shallow well.
Yeah, and I'm just going off memory from a couple months ago, and I'm not an expert in this at all, but I distinctly remember the conversation about Romeoville kind of pairing them, getting better water quality. Our discussion was a lot around water quality, and so maybe it's just in my head that we wanted more deep than shallow. But then, hypothetically, outside of this plan, if we said, hey, these deep wells are just fantastic, we want 3 of them, where would they even go? Right, with all the constraints we talked about last time, you've kind of mentioned them here.
Go to well 11 site?
Yeah, 11.
We're currently working on securing additional property around the well 11 site, which is just north it's at the edge of Lockport Heights. So that would be the next plan for the next deep well.
What about over at the well site, over at the ML Realty property? There's what, 4 or 5 acres that were set aside with that annexation agreement?
I don't recall, that might have been determined that was not a piece to hold on to. Ben? I'm sorry. Do you recall what happened with the ML Realty?
ML Realty, we don't have a well site on.
Did we put a tower? Didn't they come here and agree to what we asked for related to that?
We've been going back and forth with them. There was land provided, but when we knew that we were going to get this other deep well next to 10, that was fine. So, and we just put in well on Gauger Road. The original reason we were thinking about that was that line that we were going to go down Gauger with, but when we dug the new well over there, 9, I think it is, now 14, the numbers all get confusing.
And I
But
still
that was
think
enough
idea
capacity.
of a line down Gauger is not
Yeah.
necessarily out of the picture, right?
Right, yeah, that's still a viable option. I think it's something
that's
we
what-
should do.
Thank you, Pam. The well wouldn't, the Fish and Wildlife wouldn't allow a well on that site anyway, because that is in the
Prairie Preserve.
the tributary area to the, yeah.
A lot of challenges.
I thought
So-
it was just on
It's
the other,
crazy.
on the other side of the southern boundary.
It goes all the way over through, into Homer Glen, and it's,
Getting resident.
there's a
water.
figure there, that it's a wide swath. But because that,
We try not to drill too deep into the details. Ba-dum-bum-bum.
That's funny.
So I just have a couple questions for you.
Welcome back to the meeting.
So, and this is basic, but I'd just like to know what the time frame is. And then my second question is, how was it determined a shallow well versus a deep well way back when the wells were being put in? Why did they go with so many shallow when it seems like the deep wells are better in the long run?
good question, great question. It costs a lot less you get the closest water you can. The less you have to lift the water, the less the electricity, the less energy it takes. I told you I was going to run numbers on that, and I did not have a chance to. But the deep wells do cost a little bit more to pump and a little bit more to treat, just because you're pulling the water from so much further down.
So the city decided at that time that that was the way to go then, because to save money.
Correct. Now you did have a couple of deep wells that you were blending in back at the time, but then the radium, with the radium in the deep wells and the regulations that came about, it was decided to abandon those.
This is what I want to ask. So a decision that was made a couple years ago because of the radium, we're now saying is okay? I don't understand. What changed from before to now? Because that's why we closed those wells?
Heinz Emerald Dragonfly.
If I let me just.
Kind of confused. No, I'm being serious when I say I'm kind of confused. Why did we close them, and now we're saying let's go deep?
No. So let me see if I can recollect the history lesson too. The deep wells Wasn't a couple years ago. It was like decades ago.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
Why would it have been bad then and good?
it was a choice, if I'm not mistaken, made by the council at the time. It's like, do you guys want to screen? We have new regulations to screen for the radium, and we can either do that or we can just go shallow. And so the choice was
Go shallow and have iron removal.
right, and iron removal. It was a choice that was
They
made.
chose to go with the iron.
Whether it was a good choice or bad choice, we have, you know, kind of crappy water. So,
Yeah, everything's always easy in hindsight. At the time, there's plenty of water in this shallow aquifer. The water quality was an issue, so, okay, well, it's a lot cheaper for us to put in iron removal and abandon the deep wells. But then, oh wow, look, this dragonfly is still around. And so there's a push to protect that dragonfly and that dragonfly's area, and that dragonfly's area is tied to the shallow aquifer. So it was not a poor choice at the time. I think it was a wise choice, but more data has come about regarding the dragonfly and the environmental issues. So
that's
Can you,
why,
can you talk about the radium, actually, when that really started to get out there, the requirements on that, and how that's changed, I guess, over the last 15, 20 years?
yeah, I don't know exact dates. I mean, radium regulations were from the 70s. You know, they were toiling over radium regulations, and so at the end of the 90s, 1999, they set the rules for radium. Up until that point, communities were pumping the radium. Is this what you're going for?
Yes, exactly.
And so then in 1999, everybody that had deep wells that were producing radium had to run through a cost analysis to find out how they were going to achieve this. They had to come into compliance commitments with IEPA to say these are the steps we're going to take to come into compliance with the radium limits. And communities did all sorts of things. Some switched to lake water. I think our Bolingbrook was one that switched to lake water as a result of that. Some put in ion exchange treatment, some bought from their neighbor, some, you know. So that happened throughout the course of the mid-2000s. I think, you know, Joliet went to a enhanced iron removal treatment to remove the radium from theirs.
Yeah, and I guess there was this new regulation that came out, and they had, like Chris mentioned, they were kind of going back and forth, toying with it, and then in '99 it hits, and I think that, and I saw it in a few communities, when something first comes out, it's how are we gonna fix it? Oh, it's kind of the end of the world, you know. It's something new that now we've got to evaluate, and the costs and impacts, and so I think that all came into it. Now it is becoming a much more reasonable. Contaminant's not the right word, but a much more reasonable
Common, yeah.
common thing to treat. I mean, the treatment is just more common, and it's more acceptable. And radium, when you say radium, everybody, you know, it's one of those fearful terms that it's bad. Absolutely, it's bad, and when the parts per million reach that level, but there is ways to treat it, and the way that we would be looking to treat it would result in a very safe and healthy drinking water. And again, I think when that first came out, I think it was just the fear and the not understanding what was coming, you know, what that meant. And so that's kind of where I wanted to get to. When those decisions were made, you know, again, 20 years ago, I think there's a lot more technology advances and just understanding.
You know, and that's really no difference than what really happened about 2007 or 8, when the EPA came out with the regulations on a non-toxic coliform bacteria. It was like 100,000 parts per billion, and then they took it down to 5, which 2 of our wells were within there. So they gave us an unfunded mandate to go ahead and come up with that, which is 9 years later, we're having this discussion.
so what is the time frame?
I'm
then?
sorry, I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think you started the
That was my
question.
other
So, yeah, as this moves forward, we would design the well and get a permit to construct a well. As Brent alluded to, IEPA won't allow us to permit a treatment plant until they see the water quality that actually comes out of the well. But we're pretty sure we know what the water quality is. So the well would be drilled the first half of 18. And then, once the well's drilled, tested, we get the water quality out, and we show IEPA, see, and here's the treatment plant that'll treat it. They'll permit that treatment plant. That treatment plant would probably actually start more towards the very end of 18, mainly running through 19.
Okay.
And,
Get an idea, you know.
and I want to close the loop on something that the mayor asked about. So, as mentioned several times, the village of Romeoville uses this process. They do not treat their shallow wells for iron. So the iron removal portion of the project would not be installed at first. It's something that could be delayed, hopefully forever. We will lay out the site, we'll lay out things so that if the well 10 ever does need iron removal, because levels climb to a level that's not good, then we could add that building later. But that plant is not currently in any of the funds or the costs or the design effort or the construction effort of this project.
All righty. Hopefully everybody's up to speed. That all make sense?
Yep.
I just get my final, what is the final, for this project? So what is the final commitment you're doing on the shallow well? So you're gonna locate, what's included, that design of a well for it, or just, this is the selection of the shallow well location?
one isn't.
What's that portion of this contract?
Are you referring specifically to the ComEd and the Kohler Farm language that's in there?
Well, I'm looking at your comment on like whatever it says, well 15, I mean, and then you're gonna do something for the shallow well. So-
Yeah,
so what
that is strictly getting IEPA loan approval for the construction of a shallow well. So before you can go through and expect to get grant money back from IEPA for any project, you have to do this project planning portion. So it's basically getting that step out of the way. While we're doing project planning for the new deep well and its treatment, let's throw in project planning for a shallow well and an iron removal facility for that shallow well, so that if over the next 5 years that becomes something that's able to happen, we can go to the IEPA and we can say, you already approved it here, we're good to go, we're proceeding with this, and we would like some
You're
loan
able to
money.
proceed with a variable site without having an actual location picked?
No, I have to, that's why I'm very specific on where those pieces of property are, as being the
But if we're not gonna find out if we're gonna get the ComEd thing for close to 2 years by their construction, to get that piece of property, or we're not sure about the Kohler Farm one, I mean, how do you move forward if we don't know exactly what that piece of land we have?
Yeah, this is the same conundrum that we ran into.
EPA for those,
Well, so we'll get approval for various locations.
Yeah, we're up to 3 now, and
Up to 3 locations, we'll give, or?
just don't add too many more, because each one needs,
I guess if I can make it simple, I think it works like this, JR. It's like, you can't do anything unless the IEPA says it's okay. And it takes a long time to get them to say it's okay. So we're gonna throw a bunch of sites at them, not knowing what they'll say yes to or even what we have, but we need to get this in the queue because we have water issues we'd like to resolve. So let's get it in the queue, and then,
I understand what you're talking about, I just didn't
Okay.
think it was possible, so, okay.
okay.
yeah, they need specific sites. And because we're already going through the process of doing all the project planning and all these other pieces, and I'm bothering Lisa for a bunch of information, sorry. You know, we might as well at least throw out there the 3 most viable.
All right, friends. Anything else? Any other questions, concerns, comments? Okay, so what do we need here? Do we need some sort of action item? What do you?
Yeah,
approving?
I would ask that this be considered at the next council meeting, August 2nd. And this would be, again, this would be for the entirety of the contract, and the total value would be $275,800.
All right, is there any reason anybody sees fit that they may want to discuss something more for an action item, or do you want to do a consent?
Consent.
Unless Chris wants to give us a discount.
No, but I will offer up PDHs for tonight. If anybody needs professional development hours for this, I think it's qualified.
All right.
I do.
Yeah, it sounds like we'll put it on.
Brett needed those.
Yeah. This is done.
November's coming quick.
All right, we'll put it on consent then, Kathy.
That's cool. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
It was an extra one.
Thank you again, and I do know that was a lot of information. Again, we'll get into more fun discussion in the CIP time. If you do have any questions, feel free always. I want to open this up for anybody to drop in, give me a call. We can have, you know, I know a lot of people are new along with myself up here, so that's why I didn't want to get into too much. But again, I would be more than happy to sit down with anybody, and we can even take a drive and talk about some of these wells on site.
That would be, that's very
Absolutely.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah,
That would be neat,
absolutely.
yeah.
Next item is the 2017 roadway reconstruction, construction observation contract. This project has been ongoing, 13th, 14th, Washington and Jefferson Street. The design of the project was completed by J.J. Bennis, with Gabe recently leaving us for another municipality. We no longer have the ability to do this work in-house. This is for construction observation full-time on this project. I'm bringing forth a recommendation for Christopher Burke, who is it's a new firm, I guess, for the city to utilize. They were part of the RFQ process in 2013, so they did submit on that, so they are in our RFQ process. This is somebody that I think would be more than capable of doing this work and would be a good opportunity for us to utilize them for their skill in this area of work. The project itself, the completion date, and this is where kind of this, I know there were some questions on this, the completion date for the project is actually October 13th. And so that is a defined time that was not impacted by the IDOT work. The IDOT shutdown, that's a defined ending date that they must hit. In our pre-con meetings and in discussions, I was out on the site yesterday with Deconstruction, who is doing the work. They're still anticipating to complete the work about a month and a half early. And that has been their schedule from day one. So the unfortunate thing is that when I'm putting this contract together and bringing it to council, I need to be covered from one end to the other. So if Deconstruction did say, you know what, we're going to stop or we're going to slow down or something happens and this project does go to October 13th, that's what this contract is for. This contract is for 8 hours a day inspection all the way through the end of October, or all the way through October 13th, which is completion date. The contract, the way that it reads, this is a not to exceed, so they're only going to bill us for the hours that they're out there. I am getting daily reports from them. That's one of the things that I will be looking for in the position is daily reports, hours, who's out there, when they're out there, what they're doing. So we are getting that. That's part of this work. The other piece to this that was included that will be removed when we take this to our August 2nd meeting, if you look at page 147 of the entire packet, but it's the actual, it's their work effort page, Christopher Burke's work effort. Material testing is listed in here for $10,000. That material testing is the testing that would be done on the asphalt, the concrete, any of the base course that's out there. That will be going through the city. So that will be pulled from their contract on August 2nd, so that will be something that you'll notice. That will be pulled, and that will be going through the city. They did not have a markup on that work. However, we do the rest of the work for these projects through the city, so we'll just go out, we'll add this to our own contract, and again, that'll just be something that runs through us. But with that, I would gladly answer any questions, take any questions at this time on this project.
I have more of a comment than a question. I talked to Ben about this a couple of times, and, you know, obviously, it looks like we'll hopefully come in a reasonable amount below this 122. But regardless of where we come in, right, the full-time position that we lost paid, the cost was a fraction of just this one, right? And so
we had them all year long.
I understand that. And so as, maybe not the day of the CIP, but kind of with the CIP, I'd like to understand your thoughts, and I know you're thinking about this, but how we should structure the department
Absolutely.
to handle the workload of projects, right? We had a lot of projects a couple of years ago. That's probably going to slow down, but this is one we've just got to go do. I understand that, and I'll support that, but I do think we want to be a little more strategic about this and plan for the future in the most optimal way we can.
Absolutely, and one of the things that we are talking about, and I've been talked to Lisa several times on this, is we're trying, along with the CIP, which will be a perfect time, is to evaluate how many projects we're looking at doing annually, because the other thing that I did not want to do was go out, replace Bob, replace Gabe instantly, and then we find out in 3 years or 2 years or next year, we're only going to do, half the projects, and now we've got additional staff that we're not going to utilize. So we
can always do contracts. We can do year contract, 2-year contract, 3-year contract. When we're staffing these people, I mean, engineers do that all the time. It's always a 1 year, 2 year, or 3-year contract. Nobody ever goes works for a company for 30 years. I'm just looking at if this is $123,000 for one project, and we have 4 or 5 projects going on at one time at $123,000, that's over $500,000 for a construction observation person, or we could pay him $75,000.
Maybe way less than that.
Or 60, whatever it is. I want to pay 60.
Sure.
That was basically
Absolutely.
my request.
And
Let's look at that going forward.
And I would agree, and part of that is getting the right individuals and finding the right individuals. A lot of times these fees are rolled into on state projects. For instance, the 2nd Street Bridge project, that there was a large chunk of money in there for construction engineering. It's rolled in. Again, I maybe make things a little too black and white sometimes. I think I want you guys to understand what the impacts are. And so, like on the last project, that's why I wanted you guys to understand that total project was $4.5 million, not to get you in for $1 million and then say, oh yeah, by the way, we got another 2.5. So, and again on this, I could have come to you and said, I think we're going to be in the 60 range, but I don't want you guys to feel like you're getting kind of, pulled along every meeting. I'm coming back and hitting you with an extra. So, but I do think, I think that's a very valid point, and I believe when the CIP comes, we will have a department plan for staffing moving forward.
Yep. CIP, budget, and everything's coming up, so we can discuss all those things.
For me personally, I appreciate that, Brent. We know the whole picture. Honestly, I know there's a gnat flying around here.
Yeah.
I appreciate the whole picture and doing that, and then I think everyone on there understands. You're new. You got on here, Gabe and Bob leaving too, right? So it's kind of a whole mix of a whirlwind of things happening at the same time. So, just keep us in the loop.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you need a approval for this at the next meeting then? You guys want to put it on consent, or you want to do, we good with consent? We get all our...
Real quick, Sunny, did you go through the contract?
I think we're going to revise the contract, so I would just suggest putting it on the action item, and therefore we'll go through some of the changes.
All right, that sounds good.
Both of the previous 2 contracts we will be going through, Sonny and I, and we've been trying to work together on this and put together a master agreement again, so council can understand we do have a light at the end of the tunnel. We will have a master agreement that we will ask all of our engineering consultants to sign, so you guys are not looking at each one. Everybody's got a little different language. We're going to look for that. So moving forward, that'll be the process. These hopefully will be the last couple that we are kind of doing as a one-off.
Okay. All right, then we'll put it on as an action item so we can look at the changes.
You have time.
Does the Strand contract need to be on action?
If
I think that was consent.
it was
was on consent.
I'll leave it
We
on
say consent because we asked if there's any other talk. I don't have a problem with it.
It will get modified slightly.
Well, then why don't we go ahead and put it on for action?
Okay.
So we'll have 2 action items. Man, we almost had an entire meeting next that was going to be consent. How weird would that have been? All right, so just for the sake of having something to talk about, yeah, let's put the Strand and then on also as an action item.
And then the next 2 items are really for information only. Item PW4 In the near future, which happens to be today, is the date. Both the 2017 resurfacing project and the Porter Plaza storm sewer projects were both put in the newspaper, and they're both out on the street, so to speak, for bids. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll be receiving those and coming to council here in the next, it won't be for the third or the second, it'll be for the second meeting in August to discuss those projects. Both were part of the budgeting process, and both were on the CIP plan.
Okay.
And then the next item, PW5, this was just something that I wanted just to bring to council's attention. Lisa Karras, the director of Lockport Chamber of Commerce, she was nice enough to come up, and we don't receive a whole lot of these, but she was nice enough to come up, and she threw out 3 names. She said these gentlemen did a great job for us at Canal Days. It was very nice to hear that, and so I did recognize them at a meeting in front of all of our staff, and I just wanted to give you those names. The 3 individuals: Joe Cronin, Neil Banson, and Scott Struckmeyer. So again, just wanted to, just a FYI for your information, a nice, like attaboy, I guess, from Lisa and the chamber. So
Cool.
All right,
I
very
got one
cool.
question about the upcoming projects.
yes.
With the IDOT letting August 4th, when do you foresee that we need to have the streetscape project out for bid? Is there a certain time that you think the project should be bid? Once we see the results, or what you're thinking on that?
For the actual, you're talking State Street?
Yes.
I guess I would like to come back to you on that one.
Okay.
JR, let me give that one a little thought and see kind of where that lines up for us.
Our original thought was that we would do it in the wintertime where we think the rates are the best, but, we're open to whatever.
Okay, so we'll
We
get
did
back
have-
to JR.
Yeah, I will absolutely, yep.
Yeah, we did have a streetscape memo in prior meetings. I pulled that from this meeting. We're doing the RFQ, reevaluating all engineering services. We'll sit down and do a bunch of interviews for those companies, and then we'll bring back a future contract in regards to engineering and construction observation for the streetscape plan. Because that one we will definitely be needing outside help for.
All right, sounds good. Moving on to new business. Roy Adcock's in the house. Come on up, Roy. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure. We're not here to cause trouble either. How about that?
See your eyes, so.
You like that. My name's Roy Adcock, one of the trustees for the Lockport Heights Sanitary District. As you all know, we do have an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Lockport, Bonnie Bray. I'd like to thank Brent Can. We do have our first annual, would it be our annual? No, it has to be a quarterly, we decided tonight. Had our first meeting tonight. It's been a while. It was a very good meeting. So we do want to, again, thank you guys for having our first meeting tonight, kind of get back together. We used to hold monthly meetings. It's been several years. Get everybody back on track, getting to know where everything is at again. One of the other things I'd like to update everybody, especially the council here and the homeowners at home who are watching this, our district over there in Lockport Heights, we have been working with the county. As you guys know, we've been putting in new water mains, kind of like the city. We've been going block by block every year. We've been on a hold because of the funding with CDBG. So we're on a 3-year program with them right now. We have 1 more year to go. We just attended our last meeting a month ago with the county. So we got 1 more year before they release the funding. So we'll hopefully to have almost 3/4 of that subdivision will have all new water mains, service lines, meters, and then 1 more year after that, we'll have that whole subdivision should be completed, which would be a great effort. Get rid of all the old 4-inch lines. It's just a mess over there, as the city employees will know. So it'd be a great thing for everybody. But so I just want everybody at home to know that we are still working on that. So it's a great project for everybody. One other thing that the board would like to let everybody here know for the council and for city staff, if there's anything whatsoever anybody up on the council needs, if you need something from us, feel free, pick up the phone, call us. I'm sure everybody here has my number. I know every homeowner out there has my number. They call the city, they get my number. You need information? Call me. We don't need to send out FOIAs. We don't need to get the attorney generals involved, costing taxpayers money. It's just a whole, because what happens is if something gets mailed to the wrong address, we found out what happens. It goes to Bedford Park, and it sits in Bedford Park, which I did not know, for years. They used to return it to sender. They no longer return to sender. It sits in Bedford Park. So I never knew that. So if anybody has anything, feel free to call us. It saves a whole lot of aggravation for everybody. So we have nothing there to hide. And the final reminder for everybody, as we all know, there is going to be the new water rate coming up. I believe, what was it? Have you guys decided on what it's going to be this year?
We haven't talked about it yet. We haven't done the study or anything.
January 1st? It will be going, it's going up to what, up to 5?
CPI, only the CPI.
It's only going to go to the CPI?
We have not discussed anything further than,
Well, I know the CPI was taken out though, right?
no. it's still
Yes?
there. We can still increase up to the CPI.
Oh, okay.
What was added is that it could go up to 5%, but council has not discussed doing anything
Oh,
further
okay.
than the CPI.
I know we lost the CPI. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. And you guys have a wonderful evening. And again, thank you very much.
All right, Roy. All right, my friends, anything else on the new business?
Mayor, if I might be able to add something?
Oh, that's for next meeting.
I'd just like to bring the council up to date on a couple really important projects. Holiday Inn Express will be coming to the Plan Commission for their preliminary development plan review in August 8th, which means they'll be coming before City Council and Committee of the Whole in September. Now, it's just the preliminary development plan. They do have to come back for final before they can start moving dirt. Murphy Express will probably be open sometime next week. And Panera, we had a pre-construction meeting with them this morning. So they have to submit their letter of credit and their engineering review and inspection fees. We just have to make sure all their contractors are registered, and they're hoping to start construction or moving earth next week as well.
What was that one?
I should probably give you guys an update on a question you probably get all the time. What's going on with Burger King? So, yeah, mercy. So, just a little background, after it burned down, after about a month, I gave them a call, what's the plans? And they weren't sure at the time. They said it was an underperforming Burger King, and, they were unsure how they wanted to proceed. I made mention that there's a reason it was underperforming. I didn't think it was maintained very well. And so sent them a lot of Facebook posts of people saying such, and they seemed to understand that, oh, okay, maybe if we actually, run it like we run other Burger Kings, that it would actually do well. And so they agreed to remodel, and you guys saw the fence and the trusses, and everything was moving forward. They pulled building permits, and then everything went crickets for a while. And so when I called back to the regional director who I'd been dealing with, apparently he had moved on to another job. So I had to talk to the new regional director, and this person was in Texas, and this person says, yeah, we looked at the numbers, and it's an underperforming Burger King, and I'm like, ugh. So I basically had to start the whole conversation over again with an entirely new director, and so we have finally gotten things back on track for them to do the remodel. I said, please put a nice big sign out there that shows what the picture looks like and when you plan on opening, so people in town can understand that things are moving forward. So that's the update, in case people ask.
Very good.
All right, my friends, if there's nothing else, then we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we got Jim and Jason, all in favor? Aye. All right, let's just take 5. We'll start again at 4:45.
Yes, when are you gonna open up your bike shop?
I know.
That's right, I said you got the street. That's right. That's why I was referring, like, over here in the audience for that.
Bike all the way to Orange.
I want to say it's less than 100.
All right.
That's why you made that comment.
All right, looks like everybody's around. Kathy, you ready for a roll call?
Present.
Present.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Fantastico. All right, looking to have a motion for a consent agenda this evening.
I'll make a motion.
JR, seconded by Joanne. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, on tonight's consent agenda, we have the June 21st regular city council meeting minutes. We have the committee of the whole meeting minutes. We have the payroll period ending June 18th. We have our various bills. There is the June 28th special joint city council and planning and zoning commission and heritage and architecture commission meeting minutes. And, oh, that's everything. So, looking to have a motion to approve said consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve?
Joanne,
A second.
seconded by Renee. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes.
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 All right. Which one do you find people want to talk about letters of credit?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take that one from the start of the conversation anyway. CA1, the first item on your agenda for tonight is a resolution approving a release of the letter of credit securing the public improvements for the Parkside Estates. We'll be seeking a motion to release those credit in exchange for a cash payment. In your packet, we did deliberate about it at the last meeting. We have about $368,000 in letters of credit. We are looking to Standard Bank had that, was purchased by First Midwest. First Midwest will not be continuing the letter of credit. They want to know what improvements we want to have done now. We have worked with engineering. We actually had actual bids done, and we're able to confirm our estimates that we had put in the previous council memo. We would be willing to accept $238,293.20. That would be sufficient to cover the public improvements that we plan to do yet this year, the final lift, some curb fixes, some street lights. What will not be included would be the trees and the sidewalks, which in our practice we've had been usual and customary to allow the future developer to pay for those by bond, by parcel as they build out. And so we were able to, I think Jason and Jim had some questions prior. I think we've answered those. If they have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. We are looking for a final vote and acceptance to accept this money for these improvements and move forward with dismissing First Midwest from the LOC.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Make the motion to release the letters of credit in exchange for payment of $238,293.20.
Bada bing. All right, so Darren, is there a second? Seconded by JR. Any discussion? Well, on board?
Yep.
I just have a question, and maybe I'm misunderstanding this.
Sure.
But when we release the money, then there's nothing that'll say, like, we can go back. Like, if they're not maintaining the property, what if it stays vacant for 10 years or?
The
like,
new
is there a
owners,
timeframe?
this is for the prior kind of obligators who have the LOC on it now. The new people will not be allowed to have any new permits without establishing a new bond or LOC based on a 10% performance. Also, we've met with them just the other day, explaining a couple of these things, whether they're going to bond out individually or just do an overall bond for the entire development for the rest of the way. It's up to them. But I told them we would not be issuing any new permits until we establish some new parameters like that, so we have more control. If they were to just go away, we still have our regular code enforcement. We can put liens on the property and take care of things.
That's what I wanted to know. know, because
Yeah.
it's taking my subdivision a long time to finish being
Sure.
developed, and so we've needed grass cutting
Yeah.
letters and stuff. So I just wanted to make sure this wouldn't somehow stall that up, since it's completely new people. So there's
Right.
nothing we can use to hold a reserve for. mean,
In
I don't
this
know.
scenario, the LOC is expiring, it's not gonna be renewed by the bank. There is no new title holder in that bank and LOC. So we are taking funds to make those improvements now. Anything that doesn't get approved now, which we wouldn't wanna put sidewalks in because new construction would ruin them, we will make the new builder put a bond up for those improvements. So
And
they
so the
will,
road will get done soon, right? I mean, I drove
yeah,
through it.
the
It
road, the
looks pretty
resurfacing
bad.
will be done this year with the resurfacing contract, yeah.
Okay.
The other thing, if the cutting the grass and all that other stuff, that's like any other property owner. So if they,
It just looks bad there. I mean, I drive past it all the time.
totally. That's a, enforcement thing we gotta talk about, and getting more people and developers and undeveloped land. We gotta have that discussion. Brent and I talked about that, like, in the future. What's our plan for all this undeveloped land? Are we cutting a little bit? Are we cutting all of it? It's just to stay on people, because it's an eyesore that some people don't see, and some people kinda, as they're driving through town, see that, and that's our Lockport Pride initiative, just saying we can clean up what we can.
Right, I just want to also mention that I've been in contact with Tom in reference to even some of the vacant properties that's owned by Silver Cross, and that corner right on 159th and Farrell goes all the way to Classic Car Wash. I did make contact with them to start sending out notices for them to start trimming down, because all they did was just do a small frontage cut, and it still looks terrible. So he's gonna be doing that, or he's already done that, so. We need to start cleaning up a little bit, some of these vacant lands that just,
Yeah, and I know Brent was gonna
Oh,
talk
so
to everybody and come up with a plan that he can present to council to say, this is what we're doing moving forward.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on this item?
can I just mention, Brent, we have more personnel or, working with, or chief, maybe you can answer this. We have more personnel that are actually out there with the code enforcement. But I don't see that automatically being done. It's almost like sometimes we have to call in order to get some of these properties cleaned up. Isn't that part of their job, to go out there and look and see what, should be cut down, and, and notify the owners and.
Is it, you asking me, is that a police, is that asking a police
Is that part of
officer?
the code enforcement that Tom and the other gentlemen that are working, in hand in hand with Tom, aren't there
Well, no,
employees?
Tom is the only one in the code enforcement, but we have community service officers, but they have a full job, themselves, and,
There's only one person then.
Well, oftentimes, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, because we're on a topic here, and we can bring this up in new business, but oftentimes it's us calling things in, neighbors calling it in, so.
Do empower, the public works employees, the police department, the CSOs, everyone, as you see things, I want them to pull over, grab that branch, throw it in the back of the truck, whatever it is. I know it feels like some of us are always noticing things, and at least they do respond, and we're trying to find ways to have the full accompaniment of the employees be more proactive, and so we've been talking to the work groups about that, and it's just gonna take some time to keep up on it.
And
Summer's always tough.
Tom is much more proactive, I think, since we've taken his other duties away, which in the last 9 months. And I'm sending out his monthly report. It's very detailed now. He's doing a lot of work. And
Right,
I do agree that we could do a little better job.
I'm not saying that it's a bad job. It's just that I just thought we had more manpower that could help Tom with that, so I was mistaken.
And unfortunately, the day shift is the shift that our officers are very busy on from, they work 7 in the morning, 7 at night. They're busy pretty much the whole time. 7P to 7A, not so much. They have a lot of downtime where they could actually be looking for that. Fortunately, it's dark.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Well, Joanne, as part of the beautification, why don't you and I have a discussion, maybe we could figure out a plan.
That sounds good.
All right, in the meantime, looking for a roll call for this.
Yeah, an action item to release those letters of credit in exchange for the payment of $238,293.20, please.
Yep.
Aaron already said that, yeah.
Oh, we already said that, yeah.
Yeah, the motion already was made.
That's kind of an amateur move.
I know, sorry.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, we're all ready to go. We're just go ahead and do a roll.
Yes.
Guess I had that covered. Yes. Awesome. Yes.
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 She sits too close to you, I think.
All right.
Had nothing to do
Pam,
with
you
that
taking CED 1?
Yes. So this is the item related to the amendment to Chapter 155 signs, in which we're looking to prohibit perimeter and/or border window lighting. This has been in the works for several months now, and this was presented to the City Council on June 20th for an initial hopeful final action. However, at that time, a concern was raised regarding decorative holiday lighting. So working with Sunny, we took the original language and added what you see is the bold and italicized language so that it does address, so it talks about partial or perimeter border window lighting which is installed for the purpose of commercial advertising or attracting the attention of the public to any building or structure with illumination. And then to exempt out holiday type lighting displays, we've added language that says, however, temporary perimeter or border window lighting that is clearly decorative in nature and incidental to a commercial purpose displayed during commonly recognized national, state, or local holiday season shall be exempted from this provision. And then, so staff is recommending approval of ordinance number 17-013 as rewritten and presented this evening, and we ask the council to also approve the same.
All right, looking for a motion to approve.
Oh, I have a question on
Well, what we
this.
do is technically, we make the motion and then we
Okay.
discuss.
Got it, sorry.
I'll make a motion.
So Jason,
I got her backwards. Got her backwards.
oh man, see? All right, so Jason made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jim. Okay, discussion, please, Christine.
Yes, I think this is a really great idea. It's well thought out. But my problem is when we do construction on 171 and IDOT and all that, these people are gonna be struggling to get businesses to come down. Can this wait until after all of this is done? Because they're gonna need every bell and whistle that they can, because who's gonna wanna park down there with all that construction?
Actually, Christina, I'm glad you asked this question because one of the liaisons I was going to ask you and Renee to be part of was for the downtown construction season. I was looking to do business retention. Our goal is to not lose one business down there. And so looking to you two, with your backgrounds both as a business owner and as a chamber president, to find ways of doing events, special ways of drawing people down there. What are all the marketing ploys that we can do over that construction season? Because it's important to us. So I do want to be very proactive as a council and along with Pam and picking your brains to see what we can do to just drive people down, get them to support our businesses. So we'll be doing as much as we possibly can. I don't think it'll be the lights that bring people. It's going to be our efforts. And so I appreciate your concern. It's the right concern to have. And so I was going to be calling upon your services soon for all these things.
A lot of directional signage. Flagging. You guys on?
So nobody answered her question.
It's very important.
My answer would be, I think we're going to be doing a lot of other things, and we can get rid of the bright runway lights.
There will be temporary lighting plan with the IDOT project. We are removing the street lights later this year, the decorative green ornamental ones. IDOT will be putting in temporary lighting, so it won't be dark down there, but, I mean, there will be lighting.
Any other thoughts, concerns?
I don't know that Christina's always satisfied with that answer.
Well, I'm sure. My answer would be I'd like to move forward with it. Depending on how we vote on it, we'll know what everybody else feels. But I do think that we are going to do everything we can through other venues to make sure that we keep retention down there. I don't want to lose any businesses to the construction. Business goes and comes, they happen, but I don't want it to be for the construction, so.
Now, I just want to say, the way this is worded now, if I was a business owner who wanted lights and it says temporary, I mean, you could just go ballistic and put gazillion different colors every week if there's a new holiday. I think it's actually written worse now, encouraging more crazy lighting versus being streamlined. I mean, I would be better off saying we don't like a specific light than saying, okay, except for holiday borders for different holiday seasons. I mean, now I'm gonna start seeing green lights, pink lights, purple lights, blue lights, whatever color you want. I don't know that I necessarily wanna encourage more lights, because the way this is written, if you wanna put lights up, you're gonna put green, bright green ones up for this holiday, pink. To me, it seems worse now. I'm sorry, that's my opinion on it.
I believe it,
We could just go ahead and take that amended language out and go ahead and pass what was presented to us a month ago, which, had we voted on it, we would have passed it.
it was basically like, you know what?
Then
It's-
you're saying no lights. I'm just saying that this is saying if you want lights, now I could just go every day and change my storefront to whatever the temporary time is to the new holiday season.
So are you proposing an amendment to this?
I'm saying that maybe we should have, if you want a light ordinance, exactly which light you don't want. I mean, if you don't like the bright LED light, then say, we don't like the bright LED light. I happen to like how Manja Pizza looks right now. It's bright now. I never know when it's open. So to me, I like their lighting. Hollinsworth is set back on the street. They have string lights in their building. It looks nice when they turn them on. I don't think we should discourage simple lighting simply because we're saying, oh, it's got to be seasonal.
Are those
are
rope
two
lights?
businesses.
Are those rope lights that they're using?
They have string lights.
Like just Christmas lights, basically,
So
rope lighting?
we have two options here, Catherine. You can either go ahead and make a motion to amend what we have before us. You can make an emotion to go ahead and table what we have before us. And either one of those will go ahead and be voted on to amend whatever your amendment is. It'll be yes or no. Or, if you choose to table, that will be actually go ahead and be yes or no. Or we vote on as presented. Those are our three options. Those are your three options right now.
Folks, as somebody who's worked on this, let's vote on this so we can, because we've done all the homework that we can possibly do on this. We've talked about lights. We talked about somebody actually going out there with a light meter in front of a store. We talked about rope lights, Christmas lights, string lights, icicle lights, LED versus non-dimmable versus not. We've really beaten this one to death here. So to cover as much as we can, if we're gonna have somebody as a business owner that's gonna change their lights every day and try to do something and beat the, we're not here to chase that person and do that, right? That we're gonna have to deal with that person individually. This is meant to be, again, level the playing field so it doesn't become, again, Joliet's doing the same thing. They're waiting to hear about us and say, because they want to do that because that's gotten out of control. So we're on the right path here. This is nothing that's supposed to hurt businesses. This is a level playing field for all businesses downtown and even in the other areas. So I think this is a great thing. I would recommend we all just approve this as we go through this and move forward.
And I would say two other things. One, we did allow, and the chamber asked and requested some time so that they could bring in buy-in from the business community. I thought that was good. So they have worked with the businesses to, find and help with this, what we currently see before us. So I think that was a good thing by the chamber and the local business community. Second is, there's no doubt that this has been a reactive ordinance. It's about new technologies that came out, which were the LED lighting, and it was problematic. And we tried to find ways to keep, lighting that has been traditionally used. If we pass this tonight and we find that there's something problematic, we'll end up having to be reactive again, and we can always adjust. But at least we can move forward now with, the LEDs, which was, I think, the primary concern. And we can always revisit things if we find that there's a need to do so, Catherine. I think your concern is valid, but that's what we're here for. We can always come back and look at this again in the future and see if there's problems that have arisen. They may not be there, and we can't always foresee every single issue. So my suggestion would be to pass it, and then we can always look at it again later if necessary. All right, so why don't we do a roll call? Start with Renee.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay. So, moving on to the next one. What do we got? Grant, you taking this one?
It's the sidewalk program, is that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah, so, I've got that, Mayor. The 2017 sidewalk program bid was done. The contract with Strata Construction is in the amount of $123,000. If you look at the memo, the sidewalk program that we have to date is about $90,000. There was a budget amount of $120,000. Amy was recommending $123,000 because we already had a $3,000 allocation from the water department on a main break restoration. You know, if, basically, the reason this is a little higher than what's already in is we've done this year to year where we still get requests throughout the summer. People will contact us and say, I would like to do a program. It may add on another $5,000 or $10,000. So Amy has always requested more than the actual contract amount for the work we have currently, but you know, typically we obviously don't normally exceed the budgeted amount. You can approve the 123, you could cap it at 103, you could do 120. Basically, you know, Amy had requested the $123,000. This would be to get the current amount of work we have done and then have some money in reserves in regards to doing some additional ones so that if we have another project comes up and there's always more residents that want to do more 50-50 programs, we don't have to come back to the council. We already have an agreed price with the contractor and we can add on a few. It's just, if you want to limit that amount of discretion, that's up to you as well.
All right, looking for a motion to approve Resolution 17062.
So moved.
Second.
Jim and Christina. All right, thoughts, concerns?
I just have a question. Did this ever come through committee of the whole?
When it go,
Put it on a project.
yeah, I guess not. I don't know if we've ever come to committee of the whole.
Any project that we go out for bid for never hits committee of the whole first. They always go straight to city council. Yeah, all of our construction projects go straight to city council.
Don't remember it that
We
way.
approved it to go out to bid, we're receiving bids, yeah, I think so.
So
Right.
it did go through approval.
I mean, I would think Amy would have, she's done a bid, she's brought those bids in, we come to council for an approval. We're not able to change the bids. If there's any variation, it would just be in the amount that you want to approve. I mean, if you want to change in the future, that we bring sidewalk programs to committee, oh, that's fine.
This would be a receipt of bids, so we'd
Yeah, I
come
guess
straight to
that's-
city. I'm assuming
Just
that
seems weird to
going
me
out
that
to
it-
bid, we.
It seems weird to me that it's in front of us today as like this open-ended, you could go 90, you could go 103, you could go 123.
No.
And I understand it's, you know, we got a bid, and we're going a little bit above that, maybe just give it some cushion, but I guess maybe that's why this felt a little
Yeah.
Okay.
different. But
I think
either way, I'm okay with it.
historically, I think we budgeted $100,000 for sidewalk programs. I think we might have bumped it
But
up
this is unique
year.
because it's the sidewalk program, is what the issue is.
Yeah, you never know, when you budget, we assume we're gonna have X amount of projects, we don't know until we get them, and then we always get requests after we've done the bid, so we wanna put a few dollars in there for people that may call.
And I'm probably part of, every time we get this, then I go out and tell people who complain to me about the sidewalks, hey, now's the time to get it in, so I'm
Yeah.
probably part of the reason why you get them.
This is, yeah,
It is.
right,
It is part of the 50/50 program.
yes.
Okay.
Let's clarify here.
Yeah, well, I guess for me, and again, as the department, as we start, severe thunderstorm warning, sorry. As we move forward here, one of the things that, and this is why I brought up the two bids that we're going out to now. One of the things that I'd like to do is really be, again, as a parent, or as
Transparent.
transparent, that's exactly the word, thank you. Transparent as possible, and bring these things, so we're getting you guys the information, so we can go hit those residents early on in the year. We can make sure that we're letting everybody understand it. Again, these things, excuse me, go through the budgeting discussion, and I understand that, and they get put on the into the budget. But I do think, again, me moving forward and the department moving forward, we want to bring as much information to the city council, and it might just be another FYI, next year in March, that, we're anticipating going out in June for bids, and then we just continuously update it, maybe put a link on the website. These are things, again, that that, you know, are gonna continue to move forward, and I think, be a little bit of a moving target, but my understanding was exactly what Lisa said, so hopefully that is the case, that, project will, you know.
And to clarify this, this dollar amount, Grant, right, is that $89,000 was a specific amount of sidewalks and ADA improvements
Yes.
throughout the city, so that's that dollar amount.
That is correct.
The extra money, since we budgeted 120, that extra area in there, what they're asking for is, let's keep that for, so if we have to do a 50/50 program or do other things or other areas, emergencies, we have that money in there at a locked price from this contractor.
Okay.
That's there,
So-
because I asked that same
It's all-
question.
It's all inclusive then, okay. I mean,
And hopefully tonight, what we'll do is we'll get some more people coming in and saying, if we have that ability to go from the 90 to the 120, if we have that, then hopefully tonight we'll get some word out there and people will come in, because again, we budgeted it. It's a benefit. Sidewalks are a good thing for the city, and we want to see that used, so.
And the question of Lisa is, our 50/50 program is a separate line item, right, budget-wise, from this. We were using this contractor for some of that pricing to do that,
It's
but
included in the same line item. We have a line item in the budget called sidewalks.
sidewalks, and this
So
is
it's
part
all
of it.
gonna come in.
Okay.
What we did last year in the budget is, we normally had a smaller amount, and we were asked by council to increase it, so we
Sure.
had money for the 50/50, which
Right.
is why it went from the 100 to the 120, to give some cushion for the 50/50. So we did budget for 150 because of council's direction.
So next year, to clarify everyone's, we may only have $89,838 used, or if other people add on, we may use up to 120, which I think is fine, and then there's an accounting procedure for all those dollars, so.
Yeah, if it doesn't get used, you're kind of pre-authorizing to add a few more sidewalks if we get applications. If it doesn't get used, it would roll over into reserves. We keep it.
I mean, that's how everything is, right? If it doesn't get used, we keep the money.
All right. Anything else? You guys got something?
Yeah, I actually applied to have, some sections of my sidewalk replaced.
Denied, yes.
I am, I'm going to be recusing myself
away.
and abstaining from the vote.
All right.
may I ask another question, please? On the 50/50 program, does that apply to HOA subdivisions? It does. Okay.
That's for sure.
That would be pretty tough to, because it has to link, you know what I'm saying? It takes some coordination.
I don't know the answer to that. I can get back to you on
If I
that.
could
The reason why
clarify
I
the
asked-
We
conflict,
did?
That's not a conflict.
It's not a conflict?
No, it's not a conflict.
Okay.
Well, we did.
Will be.
But that was, I came to council separately. Yeah, I'm sure, I don't think that's necessarily part of our regular program, but if an HOA approached the city and we had funding pre-approved, I'm sure we would, just like we did with Panduit, right? We would encourage it. I would present it to you as an opportunity to do something like that. If you're on an HOA board or any HOA in the city wants to improve sidewalks, they should approach the city for a 50/50 program. I encourage that wholeheartedly.
Okay.
You did this for Panduit too, right? Remember saying?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
It's
okay.
better. That sidewalk's in too, by the way. That looks great.
All right, my friends, we all got it out?
I think so.
All right, let's do a roll call.
Do we have to reword the motion, or it's for the 123,000, right? Okay.
Yes.
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 I'm gonna abstain.
Just told you not to.
There's no conflict.
Well, I've been informed by council that it is not a conflict of interest, so I guess I'll vote yes.
Trying to get out of work, man.
Still saying no to you.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, our next one. Pam, you got PZC case 2017-003.
Yes. This item was initially presented to the Committee of the Whole on June 20th. There was really no discussion on the consolidation or re-subdivision plat nor the final development plan. This is Greif, and they are looking to do a proposed ancillary truck-trailer parking lot. To refresh everyone's memory, as part of this review process, there were some concerns raised that this property kind of fell in line with the city's downtown master plan for possible future TOD or transit-orient type development, which is very common near the train station. As a result of that, a agreement, the applicant was willing to relinquish the property, and an agreement was presented outlining the terms and conditions. It was that kind of posed some additional questions and concerns, and that will be discussed following this item. There are two resolutions in your packet. One is resolution number 17060, which is the plat of consolidation approval, and resolution number 17061, which is the resolution which would approve the final development plan. Staff recommends approval of both these resolutions as presented, and we would seek motions from the council to do the same.
Okay, so, looking for a motion to approve 17060, which is the consolidation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Sandy, I know you have a card. I'll bring you up under the, well, that's fine. Why don't you just come up and talk now? Sandy Brzezinski?
I don't know if you want my...
Set my 5-minute timer.
Oh, you're gonna cut me off, huh? Sandy Brzezinski. I'm here to ask the council to emphatically deny the special use permit for unique use for a contractor shop with outside storage, PZC case number 2017-002. Even with their special conditions, I am stunned that the Plan Commission approved this proposal. This proposal is in a residential area which has already been proven by the residents over the years that the trucks and traffic from this facility are a major safety concern.
I was just gonna let her talk. I'm sorry, Sandy.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
was just gonna let her, it's all part of it. Just let her say her piece.
No,
Not
no.
even up today.
This isn't the project.
Oh, that was the
This
Gallus
is Gallus. This is
piece that
Gallus.
she's talking about. That was approved last.
Talking grief, she's talking Gallus.
You talking Joey Gallus' stuff?
No, the Grief Brothers down there on the west
Yeah.
side?
But she's
The one with-
referencing the Gallus case.
Oh, you're
Oh,
right.
did I pick the wrong, maybe I picked the wrong number. Okay. I'm sorry.
Contractor storage, this is a truck parking lot.
Oh, I'm sorry, I grabbed the wrong thing off the paper, I'm sorry about that. No, it's for the Grief on the west side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where they're parking their trailers.
Right, right.
Okay.
No contractor storage.
I'm sorry?
no
No
contract.
contractors, it's just for trucking, correct?
Right.
Yes.
And it's not a residential area. That other one you were talking about was a residential area. This is an industrial zoned area.
Yeah, but there's residential, it's in a residential neighborhood, though.
No, it's not in a neighborhood. It's immediately adjacent to Greif, where they exist now, and on either side of it is industrial properties.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I think
it's
you got
that
the wrong-
parcel.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I am looking at the wrong.
Sandy, it's next to the Park District's maintenance building.
Okay, so this is not gonna impact the Grief Brothers where they have all those trucks almost out to the road?
This is an additional piece of property they're looking to acquire, so they can move some of those trucks out of that area.
Okay, so it's gonna move the trucks out of that
Yeah.
area?
A representative from Greif is here. Perhaps he can come up and,
Let's do this, Sandy. Why don't the Greif
Okay.
folks come up? If you want to have questions after that or comments, you're
Okay,
welcome to come
I'm
back.
sorry, I didn't make any of the meetings. Unfortunately, there's been an illness in my family, so I'm kinda caught off guard, but I thought that's what it was, the grief.
It's okay.
Thank you.
All right, if you don't mind, if you just kind of share the vision here again, what's going on.
Sure. My name is Eric Nelson. I'm the general manager of our Lockport facility and also one in Bradley, Illinois. So, yeah, again, the facility actually opened in 1972, and it's grown considerably, I mean, pretty steadily over the years, and we're a little bit landlocked, and we're looking for some incremental expansion. And one of the key things we're trying to do is clean up a lot of the trailer area that we have in the back part of the facility. If you drive over the bridge and look to the left, it's quite a bit of a mess. So acquiring this will allow us to move about 20 of those trailers up there, allow for some expansion, and then potentially expand out the back of the facility a little bit, over the next year or two. So that's really the vision. It's more short-term incremental growth.
Now, one of the things, just FYI, is, we have a downtown master plan, and it talks about, residential components down there, mixed use.
We haven't had a motion.
Yeah,
Do we
you
have a
did.
motion?
I made a motion.
on the plat.
So,
Yeah, I know, I thought that myself.
all right, so, So one of the things, it's obvious. So of course, the flip side is, we don't have developers pounding on the door to build, mixed-use residential down there, and I can't hold property hostage. It's not our property. We don't own it. It is zoned industrial. It's been industrial since the canal was dug, right? It used to be the old hydraulic basin and a paper mill. So having shared with Greif, what the big vision was, that they were very generous, and this is where they came into an agreement that says, look, if you guys do bring in a developer who's willing to do the residential, we'll put in the contract that we'd be willing to sell the property. And so I thought, again, it just shows the kind of good neighbors that Greif has been and continues to want to be. So it gives us options to be able to do that if find the ability to do that. I've also asked Pam, let's maybe start thinking proactively for the other parcels that move north of that existing parcel. So maybe we can think about doing some assemblage instead of just, when somebody comes in and buys it for industrial, say, oh, now we got to figure out, we got to solve a problem. And we can start looking to be proactive. So that's really kind of the background of how this is played out. So, all right. Any other questions, concerns from us? Sandy, come on, if you want to come back up.
Okay, so the situation is, as you come around Davies, where all those trucks are parked, those trucks are no longer going to be there then?
This will be a kind of a relief valve. It'll be able to take them from there and bring them over to the
So they're going to go more to the back of your property?
Yeah.
What about on the side there, where they've got all that other stuff piled up?
It's a question more
Is
for
that a
Eric.
whole different zoning?
It's all industrial down there. Everything that they have is an industrial. All that gray on the map over there is currently industrially zoned.
Okay, because I know, and the biggest reason I came up here too is I know the master plan, that was in my comments also with the master plan, but also with these trucks the location they're at now as far as coming around Davies Avenue. That has always been an issue for the residents of the west side. That is a very, very dangerous area. And years ago, I had approached the city, and I actually talked to, when James Antoli was the administrator, and I had asked him, at the very least, can we have a stop sign? Because what was happening is, I don't know if you guys owned it then, these trucks were backing out and just plowing out into the road, not even looking. I mean, somebody really was going to get hurt. And they did put a stop sign there. But the way those trucks are parked now, there is no way they're conforming to any zoning laws. The other issue I have with any development even going back further there, is flooding. As you know, Steve, with the situation that occurred in '96, and now with the work that's been done between not only the city, the residents, and Chevron Texaco, as far as trying to alleviate or get some kind of flood control measures, they're ready to put in that new culvert on off the I&M, and they've got the swale all cleaned out. What is the ramifications of this development going to have concerning flooding issues? Are they going to have retention ponds, or where are we going with that? I just hope, I'm glad that you got that in the contract, that eventually, hopefully, to buy that, and that will go with the master plan, so that we don't have, because these trucks are horrible. Horrible. And it's not, I can say it's not only them, it's these guys that are coming out from Texaco before the 2nd Street bridge closed. Those guys just plow. It's like nobody was hit as far as with those guys coming out too.
That's interesting. I think maybe we should try to see if there's ways that we can help with that temporary route of those trucks, because they're not able to leave on the 2nd Street. Is that what you're saying? Those
No, this was before 2nd Street was closed. They were coming plowing as far as the residents trying to come, and they weren't even stopping. I turned and I was going, and I had a truck just pull right out in front of me. I don't know if he didn't see me or what the deal was.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, it's obviously separate from this. Why don't you give me a call this coming week, and we can talk about that aspect, because that's something different, and that's
okay.
worth
But
listening to.
this Greif Brothers with those trucks, it's really a sore spot as far as with zoning, and that's what I thought this was for. It was for that particular. I didn't realize they were trying to relocate some of the trucks. That's a good thing.
Okay.
That's actually a good thing, and to try to bring that into the zoning code and the laws.
All right.
Okay, is that going to cause any more like noise, vibrations, dust, dust or anything?
I think it's gonna eventually reduce it because the plans and the plans are totally paved. And our plans eventually are paved more of that area too.
Okay, and are you guys, do you have to supply any type of, for flood control, for retention or detention, or?
Not yet. Not with this one.
That culvert and swell, how much water is gonna be going into that, though? Off of this, once this is all paved? I mean, that would be my
The culvert is
concern.
immediately to the south of this particular
Correct,
lot. So
correct.
sloping and stuff is to direct water into the culvert, which is there existing. And we are doing some culvert work, aren't we, right now? Aren't we lowering those 2 tubes that go from the I&M Canal?
Right, 13th Street.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
All right, so
That's part of the overall Chevron work that was down there and part of the overall flood study and firm FEMA updating of the maps.
Right, I was at the Chevron meeting, and they were talking about it. They weren't sure exactly when it was gonna be done. They were waiting on,
Yeah, we actually had a meeting yesterday
Oh,
with
okay.
them. They're working right now on just the Julie locate, so I would tell you that the work's gonna begin within the next week or two.
okay, because that road's gonna have to be shut down then, too, correct?
There will be some impacts to the roadway, yes.
Yeah, because once that, I mean,
Sandy?
I'm getting off, but once that road shut down and Second Street shut down, the West Side residents have 9th Street. to
Well,
try to
Sandy,
get-
like I said, feel free to give me a buzz.
Okay,
and,
okay.
we can talk
And
about
again,
some
I'm
of those
sorry,
areas.
I didn't, getting on top of this, maybe it would have been better. It would have alleviated a lot of me writing also for how many hours, too.
I wanted to stop you right away.
Yes, but I look forward to a lot of those trucks being gone, because those are really a headache.
All right.
Thank
All
you
right.
again.
Thanks, Sandy, for your time. All right, my friends, any other questions, concerns up here? All right, again, thank you to Greif for working with us to try to look at the long term and being open to that, so thank you for that. Okay. All right, so we'll do a roll call, please.
Yes.
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 So that was for PZ1. I know Sunny's going to talk about the business terms
I
and
believe there's the other
I still have to do the second resolution, which is all part of this, but now I'm
Getting
looking
there.
for a motion to approve Resolution 17061, which is the final development plot for the lot.
So moved.
I make the motion.
All right, Darren and JR, or not Darren and Jim, sorry. Mhm. All right, pretty much, I think we've discussed it, so we do a roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. Letter of agreement to purchase property. Who's taking this?
I would be taking that. Mayor, city council members, and I don't want to belabor this whole topic, but this is all part of the package regarding the Greif company that's being a good business owner by agreeing to this purchase option in which the vacant lot that Greif is acquiring is in the area where the transportation-oriented development would hopefully in the future develop a multifamily residential area for buyers. But until then, Greif has agreed to acquire the property, give the right to purchase that property to the city, and at the last committee of the whole meeting, there were some concerns regarding the 3% multiplier that was eliminated in this version. And also to protect Greif's interests, they requested that the actual term of the purchase option end on July 31st, 2027. So both parties are protected, and this is a good win-win for both the city and Greif, and hopefully that area would be developed, and if that's the case, the property, the parcel that the city would have the option to acquire would be the higher of either one, the actual purchase price, or the purchase price plus the cost of improvement. So if there's no further questions, we would request a motion to approve the letter agreement for the option to purchase the property.
All right, so motions out there?
I'll make motion.
Renee, seconded by Jim. Any other thoughts, concerns on this? Okay, can we do a roll call, please?
Yes.
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 And if I may, before, there is going to be an executive session under 2C1, under appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee, and that would be after the public comment portion.
All right, yeah, see, you're gonna need to do that earlier in the meeting so we can prepare mentally that we're gonna be here late, yeah.
We checked out.
So, yeah, make sure you say that in the beginning there, Sonny.
Checked out.
But fine, we'll do it.
Are we gonna discuss, Sonny's memo?
Which memo?
Information, and if there's any further questions, I'm more than willing
The
to.
only question I had in this whole thing was, as regards to public hearings, state statute says that those that are, and we've never done this, that those are testifying in a public hearing must be sworn, and, I don't see this in your memo.
That's applicable for the actual Plan and Zoning Commission, because they're delegated the hearing authority on behalf of the city council. So if the city council wanted to conduct a public hearing, that would be something we would do, but because we delegated through the ordinance, the hearing power, the fact-finding authority.
Well, we have public hearings on the city council.
Yeah, but that's an official thing. It's not just a regular meeting. Like, if somebody comes up to talk about an issue, that's not an official hearing.
We have public hearings. We do
We
have.
do,
We
and we
do.
can swear people in at that time.
Yeah, for annexation agreements, when we do have public hearings, we can do that at that time, if we want to do it that way. But for regular comments, or if somebody was.
Well, I would like to do that. I would like to have that. I would have to have that language. I would like to do that from now on during public hearings, that those that are gonna testify, because a developer with an annexation agreement will be testifying, okay? And
Yeah, we would have to look at the ordinance amendment.
I
The
just
city
wanna be-
council actually reviews, it's a review body. It's not the fact-finding body. So that's something that you don't want to rehash facts that were already determined.
But
and-
that's exactly what has
If I can
happened.
ask, Darren, we just got this today, I haven't even read the whole thing,
Yeah.
so if we all can give our comments to Sonny, maybe we can reconvene again and talk about it?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's have a discussion after because I too didn't have a chance to read it either, so we could do that. Okay. All right, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn into executive session.